Now there are a lot of mainstream animes. We got Black Clover, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, and Hunter x Hunter. All of these animes which I have watched, and you probably watched one of them too. But something a majority of us have watched and majority of us haven't is One Piece. And I'm that selection, okay? I've never watched One Piece. Now as for the reasons why I haven't watched it, I'm gonna be a little biased here. Number one, you already know I'm gonna say it. It's too long. And number two, I don't really like the art style. But lately, man, I've been seeing One Piece just everywhere, especially this year. And I was gonna watch it, okay? Of course I'm gonna watch One Piece. It's an OG. Now with the final saga of One Piece approaching, if I don't watch One Piece, I'm gonna regret it. So in this video, I actually did watch One Piece, going from when Luffy meets Zoro all the way to Arlong. By the end of this video, will I be a One Piece fan? I don't know. Let's find out. Alright, so the first episode is already starting off hot. Luffy comes out of a barrel talking about he's gonna be the king of the pirates, you know, his iconic catchphrase. He just starts terrorizing everybody. I mean, this man literally took a club to the head and ate it like nothing. So right away, even at the start of the episode, Luffy was already pretty strong. He's setting out to start his pirate crew, and he's starting with the infamous pirate hunter named Zoro. Why is Luffy recruiting a pirate hunter? I don't know, because he's Luffy. I don't know. And I don't know who Painkiller is, but he reminds me of Deku. Cries a lot, wants to be a hero, blah 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 blah. Back to the point. Turns out there's more story behind Vicious Zoro. We see him chained up to a post because he saved a little girl from this butt chin dude. I think his name was Helmy Poe. I don't even remember his name. He's one of those spoiled kids, you know, who runs to his dad anytime something doesn't go his way. So yeah, Zoro beat him up a little, and that somehow made Zoro a criminal because he attacked the Navy guy, I guess. Obviously, you know, this guy was salty, and he said, if you want this girl to live, you gotta stay chained up to a post for a month. And Zoro really didn't have a choice, because if he didn't go on with the challenge, then this butt chin was gonna kill the girl. So Zoro had already been here for like 3 weeks, so he was clearly devoted. But in the end, this dude lied. He wasn't really planning on letting Zoro go after the month. He was gonna execute him soon anyway. Luffy overhearing all this, he gets rocked again. So now Luffy is a target. Then we switch to Luffy meeting Zoro, and then Luffy makes a little bargain with him. If he gets his swords, he has to join his crew. And you know what's funny about it? I don't even think Zoro took him seriously. You know, Luffy looks young. Until he saw Luffy was really about that, then yeah. And when I thought the butt chin wasn't scum enough, his dad was even worse. Meanwhile, Kobe tries to free Zoro because he knows what the Marines are doing isn't right, but he fails. So already I'm getting like a corrupt power trip vibe from the Marines, you know? They're not all goody two-shoes as they seem to be. Then Luffy comes in, saves Zoro from being shot by deflecting the bullets with his body. This dude is already like, you know, he's pretty good. And then he says his iconic catchphrase. Luffy gives Zoro his swords, cuts him loose, and now he's officially got a new crewmate. And just like that, Luffy and Zoro set off to the Grand Line. In the next episode, we get some backstory on Luffy, you know, how he got his devil fruit, and also the story behind the Straw Hat. And I'm finally introduced to Shanks. I've seen this man everywhere. When it comes to One Piece and popularity, he is definitely up there. Okay, but back to the backstory. We see a young Luffy chilling with Shanks and his crew. Even now, while I'm recording this, I still don't know like how exactly a devil fruit works. But you're telling me Luffy got his power because he was in a bad mood and he wanted to stuff his face? I have so many questions. Why was the fruit, this legendary fruit, just out like that? Anyways, long story short, Luffy gets kidnapped by this random bandit for sticking up for Shanks. And this bandit throws him in the ocean. And now since Luffy has a devil fruit, he can't swim. Seconds later, the bandit gets eaten by like this sea dragon. And then it starts charging at Luffy. But Shanks comes at the last minute. And when I say last minute, I mean it, because he lost his whole arm. And this man Shanks is just smiling at Luffy, happy that he stood up for him and his crew. Glad he's not hurt. Meanwhile, his whole arm is gone. Hey, say if they didn't show like the scene of Shanks' arm being gone, I would have thought nothing happened. So I feel like this is also part of why Luffy wants to become a pirate king, or just to become stronger. Shanks definitely played a part of the role. And then Shanks leaves his special hat to Luffy, and Luffy promises to bring it back once he's a great pirate. But yeah, that was a wholesome little episode. I like that. And then it ends with Luffy trying to catch a bird in the sky, but that didn't work out. The situation he just puts himself in just be crazy. But that bird flew him all the way to this other area called Orangetown, which so happened to be where he would meet his second crew member, Nami. And it seems like she's already in that situation herself, because a few episodes prior to this, she stole an important chart, which is why she's getting chased. Seconds after Luffy lands, Nami throws Luffy right under the bus. And you know, they acting tough and all, but Luffy ain't paying him no mind. He's just trying to figure out where the food is at. But once they smacked off his hat, that's like almost close to spitting. Well, not really, but smacking off people's hat is disrespectful. He started locking them up. And while Luffy is fighting them off, Nami is making her escape. But after seeing Luffy can be used for something else, she comes back for seconds. Now you would think after Nami framed Luffy right there that Luffy would be a little cautious of her. But once Nami offered Luffy a meal, he just broke off his guards. He didn't even have no guards to begin with. But as Luffy's eating, we get some intel on why Nami is a thief. That's because she's saving up for 100 million berries. Now she won't explain exactly why she needs 100 million berries, but that's what she's doing. She's also a super skilled navigator, so Luffy wants to recruit her on the team. I mean, she said no at first because she doesn't like pirates. In fact, she hates them. But once she saw Luffy could be used for something else, she took the offer. And I gotta say, she has to be the most manipulative, deceiver, schemer, whatever you want to call it, I've ever seen. But at the same time, Luffy is just dumb. This man willingly let Nami tie him up and meet the bandits and the captain. Now, we finally meet the antagonist, Buggy the Clown. I thought Nami framing Luffy and giving Buggy back the chart was enough, but she applied for an application afterwards. Like, this girl crazy. But she started to regret it because this man genuinely started tweaking. Buggy was ready to put a hole in Luffy just because. And that's when we start to see Nami. And then Zoro finally arrives on Orangetown, so they start to duke it out. You know, it's going crazy. And then Buggy finally reveals his devil fruit, Chop Chop, which basically gives him the power to detach his body parts and control them. Now, I'm not sure where the Chop Chop fruit stands on, you know, the variety level, but it's pretty low. And that's crazy to me. Basically, Buggy is dominating any hand-to-hand combat. He can move all of his limbs at will, but this can also work against him if he doesn't play his cards right. And I'm not gonna say anything, you're gonna see. Okay, Zoro ended up getting stabbed because he underestimated Buggy, alright? But it's all good because they were able to dominate shortly after. We are barely 6 episodes in and Zoro is already becoming my favorite. I feel like the bond between Zoro and Luffy is already like this, you know? It's already so strong despite knowing each other very little. And I think Nami is starting to see this too. She's realizing that Luffy and Zoro is different from the rest. But this dog was just tweaking out. Now, Luffy was able to break out shortly after by this guy named Moji, I don't know. And I don't think this is super important to add, but we get some backstory on why the dog is the way he is. The dog's owner, who passed away, they were super close. And the owner, you know, is starting to get up there in age, and he tells the dog he's going to the doctors. Hold the fort while I'm gone. Not knowing that will be the last time they ever see each other. And this dog never left the fort. He stayed right there. Alright, I'm getting too much into this dog. But while everybody ran from Moji and this big old tiger, whatever he got, this dog stood 4 paws down until he couldn't. And then the dog just sits there, watching his last memories with his owner get burnt. I think deep down he knew that his owner wasn't here anymore, but he wanted to, okay, let me stop, I'm sorry. Now again, I don't think this was necessary to add, but this just needed to be mentioned. After Luffy saw this dog grieving, Luffy came back to run seconds. And I guess seeing this dog go through it really struck a chord with Nami. And real quick, I have to say this. Anytime somebody is talking crazy or says something Luffy doesn't like, he just makes this like bland face, just like this. I don't know. It's funny but creepy at the same time. Cause Luffy, he's unpredictable. But after seeing Luffy actually help the dog, Nami calmed down. So the dog and Luffy went their separate ways. So I guess Nami like like semi-joined the crew. She's there, but she kinda isn't. I don't know. She's more so just in it for the benefits. But Buggy wasn't done terrorizing the place just yet, so the crew had to run it back again. And then this irrelevant swordsman on the unicycle started showing out. I'm not gonna talk too much about him. What is to talk about is that we finally see Zoro use an attack move. Onigiri. I had Onigiri's hit. Y'all gotta have that, bro. Them joints go stupid. But Buggy started showing out too. Meanwhile, all that is happening, Nami gets back the Grand Line chart from the Buggy crew and takes Buggy's money on the way. And then, like a little plot twist, I'd say, Buggy says that Luffy's hat reminds him of Shanks. Apparently, they got some history. This dude Buggy just started being petty, honestly. He started targeting the hat once Luffy said it was treasure to him. And on top of that, he was talking bad about Shanks. So we finally see Luffy get ticked off a bit. But after hearing Buggy's backstory, I kinda understand why Buggy snapped. I ain't gonna lie. And judging by Buggy's characteristics, he's always been like this greedy guy. Anything he saw valuable, he just thought of this. So when he heard this devil fruit got a little cha-ching in it, you know, he stole it from his own crew. I wouldn't even say he stole it because they didn't even really care. But still, you know, he wanted to be secretly about it. He didn't want anyone to know what he was doing. And then Shanks stops by, which made Buggy hurry up and put the real fruit in his mouth. After Buggy thought the coast was clear, Shanks comes again, startles him, and Buggy swallowed the fruit. I am not exaggerating this. This is exactly how it went. He puts a blame on that on Shanks. Yeah, this is crazy. I'm not really going to go into the second fight with Luffy and Buggy. It was really nothing crazy other than Luffy kicking Buggy in the balls and tickling the grown man's feet. But this is where the con came in with Buggy's fruit. He was detaching his body parts too much, man. And I forgot what they did. I'm just gonna show the clip here, but that's a bad thing, man. That's a bad thing. I don't know how he's gonna get those body parts back, but Buggy is defeated. That's done. After like a little misunderstanding, the Orangetown residents started tweaking out. So Luffy, Nami, Zoro, they all escaped to their boat. Now they have the Grand Line chart and they got some coins in their pocket. But the little cherry on top, the dog came back barking. He saved them some extra time, y'all. But when all was said and done, the mayor of the Orangetown, filled with tears, thanked them for freeing them from their oppression. I dang near shedded a tear at this part. Like the music, they got some good soundtracks. But that was just this is awesome, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. And on top of that, Luffy left them with a bag of coins, you know, so they could start repairing the damage Buggy caused. That was a really wholesome arc. I like that. Now, before the crew proceeds into the Grand Line, they realize they need to upgrade their boat. Because with a boat like this, you know, it's good, but it's not gonna last well. Which is where they would stumble onto the next crew member.